Painting something nostalgic seems to be on trend at the moment, and with the likes of Gary Morley and Trish Carden on our chat shows, it feels only right and proper to do something similar. And what better than one of the classic skirmish games, Mordheim. Now, when I was a wee lad back in the day, one of my favourite warbands was the Sisters of Sigmar, sculpted by Gary Morley. Thank you, Gary. Now, they got lost to time, somewhere in an attic, probably in a bin, hopefully not. But past Peachy had the foresight to buy an extra set from Warhammer World, which got left in my vault of potential. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack this box open, I'm going to clean the models up, and then we're going to sit and paint a Sister of Sigmar, maybe the matriarch because she's badass. So stay with me while I wax lyrical about Mordheim. I love Mordheim. It's an excellent skirmish game set in the old world, in which Ostermark's capital is smashed to pieces by a twin-tailed comet and scatters vast amounts of weirdstone, also known as warpstone if you're in the know, a bright emerald green crystalline substance that is a solidified form of pure chaos energy, kind of radioactive, sort of mutative in a way. And warbands of every ilk duke it out to claim as much of this powerful substance as possible. Also, I love the whole concept of the Sisters of Sigmar, warrior nuns whose sole goal is to recover the evil rock and store it deep in the vaults of their somehow unscathed abbey in the city of Mordheim to keep it safe from ne'er-do-wells. Now, there's plenty of, obviously, other warbands out there, so there's witch hunters, vampires, humans, beasts possessed, but Sisters of Sigmar, they're the ones for me. I also love Warcry, as you may know, and these will also fit perfectly within that game system too. It's a win for me. So with that being said, I will be basing these on round bases, as one, it looks cool, and two, it works nicely with both systems, because Mordheim actually doesn't really matter about the base is just a mechanic to stop the models from falling over. Now with our matriarch now cleaned up and put onto a nice round base, I decided to go for a 28mm instead of a 25, because the normal like small sisters and the novices can go on the 25s, and the characters or heroes can go on the 28. I'm going to undercoat her white and then start painting her. So to start off with, we're going to be using Soulblight Grey. I'm going to apply this all over, mostly for the white. Now, there's not a lot of white on this particular model, but the others there will be, but it's really good and acts as a nice pre-shade for some of those other colours, so I get a little bit of depth when I apply some other colours later on. With that dry, I'm now going to pick out any blue details with a thin down coat of medium blue. I've kind of heavily thinned it down, I suppose. It's like 3 parts water to 1 part paint, and I'm just going to apply that over, and as it dries, it will move away from the edges, which will give you a bit of a highlight, which helps obviously identifying highlights later on, but in the early stages, certainly for like tabletop levels, it's just nicely highlighted for you. Then I'm going to pick out any leathers with leather brown, again thinning these down slightly so you get some natural highlights. That's the great thing about using a white undercoat. You can just be a little bit more chilled, thin the paints down a bit, and it instantly highlights for you. So you're just picking out the boots, the belts, scabbards, anything that looks like it's made of leather. For the silvers, I'll be using oily steel. Just work your way around, pick them out. I mean, you could start off base coating the gold details as well first with this, and then just wait until you decide what's going to be gold and what isn't. And like I said, for the golds, here I'm going to be using bronze. I know, bronze, gold, doesn't really matter. I like the tone. And you can thin it down slightly, and some of that silver might pop through as well, giving you a bit of a highlight. Now the weapon haft, again, you can choose. You could be like brown, black. I'm going to go for a nice red tone, and here I'm using dirty red. Now I'm going to get a black knight, which is one of the deep shades from AK, and apply this all over the metallics, the blue, the leather. In fact, you can apply it over the hair as well. In fact, over the whole model. Doesn't really matter because I've not actually picked out the skin yet, so you don't have to be super neat here. And with that all dry, I'm just going to move on to picking out the skin, and for this I'm going to be using vampiric flesh. So just a couple of thin coats just to build up a nice smooth coat. However, if you wanted to opt for other skin tones, just check out our previous skin tone video. That'll give you plenty of choice should you want to try something different. Now for a shade, I'm going to give this human skin deep shade a go and apply that in a few thin coats as well. Now neat, it can be quite pinky, but thin down you can build up a couple of nice coats. You can also add this to the gold if you really wanted to add some richness to it, but I'm just going to keep it to the skin. All that's left now is to pick out any hair. Without detailing lots of stages here, I suggest keeping it simple. Grab 3 contrast colours that feel like natural hair tones and use them across your warriors. So here I'm going to be using Garrigak Sura, but you can opt for like Cygor Brown, Agros Dunes, it's entirely up to you. Don't go mad with lots of colours, keep it to like 3 or 4. With the hair done, our matriarch is now ready for the tabletop, but do stay tuned if you're looking to add more love to your classic Gary Morley miniatures. We'll start by tying up the blue with medium blue again. I'm just going to keep this into those recesses just in case it's a bit blotchy here and there, because you will get that sometimes when you thin it down, and I'll still leave some of those edges a little bit lighter. Then I'm going to highlight with Spectrum Blue. Now, we've already got some highlights here from the previous tabletop level, but what I'm going to do is use Spectrum Blue because it's a bit lighter, use those existing highlights as a guide, but I'm going to go for more of a jaggedy effect as opposed to smooth, clean lines. This will just give the cloth a nice tattered and worn look, which is appropriate to Sisters of Sigmar. Then use any white to tidy up any white areas. This is maybe, in case you got some blue on there or whatever. Then for the metallics, I'm going to relayer some of those, not everywhere, just on some of the raised details. So get some of the oily steel for the silver areas, and then get some bronze for any of the bronze areas or gold areas. And if needed, especially on the silver, give them a nice final highlight of silver. Then I'm going to highlight all the leather areas using a little bit of tan earth. For the skin, I'm going to reapply using the base layer, then apply another thin coat. I've got some on my wet palette still, so I'll just reapply that thin coat of human skin. That's just to knock back that relayer. Then if you need to, just on like noses, knuckles or whatever, or brows, just highlight using that vampiric flesh as a final highlight. What you see me doing here is using just 2 colours and just building up a lot of contrast. So a bit of tidying up, bit of a wash, bit of a highlight, and again, it just builds up those layers. Now I'm going to focus on some details on the faces, which are going to be the eyes. Now there's a few options for painting eyes. Option 1 is to paint the eyes black, so I'll do that on both eyes anyway, because that's how I'll start both of them. And then I'm going to get a bit of white, thin it down so it's not going to dry too quickly. And then all you need to do is just do a dot of white on either side of the eye. So what you're leaving is a nice little black void in the middle, which can act as your eyeball. Option 2, again, starting with a black base coat. You get a little bit of white, you do a little white strip for the eyeball, or a white oval if you prefer, and then you just do a black dot in the centre. Warning though, this can sometimes lead to the eyes looking a little bit offset if you're not careful, so just be mindful of that. Now with the model pretty much finished, I decided I'd need a little bit more blue on it, and that was on the shield, so I'm just going to get some medium blue. This is pretty much neat, I'm not thinning it down that much, I'm just going to apply it to the shield, but I'm not going to go all the way to the edges because I want it to look beaten and chipped. Then what we're going to do now is move on to basing our matriarch. For our basing, we're going to start off with concrete, so I'm going to get a couple of splodges and then I'm going to add a bit of water so I can just have a bit more control as I get closer to the feet, and then just add more thicker splodges once I've done that. Just work your way around. And the idea for this is just to avoid it like big thick splodges near the feet and then literally just going over everything you painted. With that all dry, I'm going to get some light clay and add some neat patches here and there, and then I'm going to get some thinner and then just drop that around, just add a bit more variety to that actual finish. So you can add a bit more light clay if you needed to, if you like some areas to be a bit darker, or just thin it down. For the rims, I'm just going to get standard Steel Legion drab and paint that around the rims, and then I'm going to just get a couple of grass tufts and stick them on the edge. I know some people out there saying, why didn't you do it Goblin Green, Peachy? I wanted to tie in with the rest of my stuff. Sorry. So there we are, I've done a matriarch. Weirdly, I don't know why, it's one of my favourite figures in the set. There's loads of cool figures. I'm going to paint the rest and get them all done as well for Warcry, Mordheim, get back into playing Mordheim. That'll be good. More Mordheim, more often. But just painting the model itself just made me feel younger. I was starting to think about all the times when I was sat at my table with my dad painting. It just felt so good just sitting there. And I think, as a hobbyist, every now and again, it's nice just to go back and paint something that you remember doing during your childhood or whatever, because it just gives you just nice, buzzy, good, wholesome feelings and stuff. So I really enjoyed it. It was really nice just painting old metal models that maybe nowadays can be taken for granted because they're all sculpted to that scale, whereas there's lots of like cool digital plastic kits out there that are very super detailed. I just found it really relaxing, really nice, and just doing that again was a good feeling. I'm going to get the rest painted up. I'm definitely the scheme itself is actually matching my Hallow Guild and my current Sisters of Sigmar stuff that I've done for Warcry as well, so they'll fit in nicely with that collection too, and the basing works as well. So I hope you enjoyed watching this random trip down memory lane as much as I enjoyed painting them, and we will catch you on the next video. As always, hit the like and subscribe, and massive thank you to our patrons because they are awesome human beings. And 2, if you want to join our Patreon, just click on the links, sign up. We have a great community on Discord. There's lots of extra benefits. You can have some feedback with me. We've got a higher tier where you can have one-to-ones with me as well. Maybe we can sit and paint nostalgic miniatures together and even do Goblin Green bases. It's entirely up to you. Till the next time, see you around. Au revoir. Guten Tag.
That's hello, isn't it?
Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah.